Whether it's James Worthy's 36, 16, and 10 over the Pistons, Bill Russell scoring 30 and grabbing 40 boards in 1962, or literally any of the shit LeBron has done, NBA Game 7s can be the greatest spectacle in sports. Superstars have long taken advantage of the stage to put on the most memorable performances of their careers. But in 1994, one player had a game that was such a nightmare, he became an adjective for future choke artists. This is the worst NBA Game 7 performance. May 22nd, 1994, if you trust the Gregorian calendar. The Summit, Houston, Texas. Game 7 of the NBA Finals has the Houston Rockets hosting the New York Knicks. It's Olajuwon versus Ewing, Oakley versus Ori. A young Kenny Smith with so much hope in his eyes thanks to limited exposure to Charles Barkley. And then, the Knicks MVP through the first 6 games, John Starks. In a series loaded with talent and high-quality 90s mustaches, Starks came to play, especially when New York needed a late boost. Coming into Game 7, the Knicks guard was averaging 19 plus per game. He had put up double-digit fourth quarters in Games 4, 5, and 6, and in Game 3, Starks almost sent the game to overtime with a 3, but was fouled by Olajuwon and was awarded 2 free throws because the NBA rulebook was trash. Starks also nearly ended the series a few nights earlier, when he got off a last-second 3, only to have Olajuwon get one of his beef tips on it, forcing this 7th game to crown the champ. This back-and-forth series is best remembered, though, for Game 5, when O.J. Simpson interrupted the game, fleeing authorities in a model of car that I will not name because they have not sponsored this video. That same day, the World Cup kicked off in the US, and the American team actually managed to win a game against Colombia, partially thanks to an own goal, but hey, we'll take it. Oh, and some movie Elton John made about Lions came out during the series, but that's not sports. From the opening tip, the teams trade baskets, mistakes, and the lead during a back-and-forth first quarter. New York spreads the ball around early on, so Starks doesn't have too many chances in the first half. He bricks a few shots, sinks a couple free throws, loses his man on defense, has to sit for most of the second quarter after picking up his second foul, and then on this rebound, his third. With Starks on the bench for the final 3 minutes of the half, the teams sloppily swap possessions before this beautiful reminder of how little we worried about phrasing in the 90s.
Slams it down, throwing up a facial to tie the game.
The teams head to their locker rooms with a close game at the break. Rockets 45, Knicks 43. Starks is 1 for 6 for 4 points and so blissfully unaware that it's all downhill from here. On to the third quarter, and whatever speech Pat Riley gave at halftime must not have involved Starks. With 3 minutes remaining, he finally gets a chance, and although open, can't bury the 3.
And John is starting to show a little frustration right now.
Stomping his feet to remind his teammates that he does still exist, Starks eventually gets the ball and tries to work on his short game, but his pal Olajuwon says otherwise. On top of his poor shooting, Starks continues to struggle guarding Maxwell. Despite his play, the Knicks are managing to keep it close, down 63-60 going into the fourth quarter, where I'll let someone else remind you of how good he's been.
He has been Mr. Fourth Quarter for the New York Knicks.
After padding the only stat he seems to care about tonight with his 4th foul, Starks again tries to make something happen by driving to the basket, and gets fouled himself. He knocks down these free throws, remembers how good that feels, and the Knicks know that the fourth quarter is his time. As New York begins force-feeding him the ball, Starks fires from 3 and misses everything, thanks to Ori getting a piece of it. On the ensuing inbound, Starks comes off a screen for an open 3, which rattles out. The Knicks keep looking to free him up on screens, and he rewards them with more missed 3s. Okay, so forget the screens. He gets open on transition for a clean shot that clanks off the rim and leads to an easy jam for the Rockets. Rockets up 7 with 5:28 remaining, and just like that, Starks is 1 for 13, 0 for 5 in the fourth.
I know the Knicks have stayed with the philosophy of going with John Starks, but I would think you reach a point, hey, you gotta stop shooting.
Look, Marv, I don't come to your house and tell you how to shit, so don't tell the Knicks how to lose basketball games. They just keep on feeding the man. and Starks keeps throwing the food past his mouth as he starves to death in full view of the world. Robert Horry helps out by stealing a pass intended for Starks to prevent further suffering. Then, the next time Starks has an opportunity, he passes out of an open shot. Ewing shows some solidarity for John by missing a 3, and Starks actually lays in the rebound to cut the lead to 5. Could this actually be the Starks of old? He sticks with the short game on the next possession, throwing up a contested layup that leads to a foul on Oakley, but that makes it a 3-point game. Hope is alive. The Knicks could pull this off. Clutch City could never become clutch. Or Starks picks up his 5th foul, Maxwell hits another 3 right in his face, and for Starks and the Knicks, it all unravels. Despite the slight pulse he showed earlier, he misses 1, 2, 3 more 3-pointers, capping it off with an air ball that the Rockets catch, kill clock, and hit free throws to lock up the championship.
And people are probably wondering, what in the world is Pat Riley doing staying with John Starks in this ballgame?
Starks finished the game going 2 for 18, going 0 for 11 from 3, and 1 for 10 in the 4th quarter alone. He went from being their late game savior to being the comparison for when people can't buy a 3. The Rockets would go on to repeat the following year, while the Knicks would get bounced in another memorable and tortuous way. While Starks had a rough night, he fared a bit better than Colombian footballer Andres Escobar, who 10 days after Game 7 was shot dead in Medellin, following his own goal against the U.S. The night of Game 7 also featured the unveiling of the Toronto Raptors mascot and logo, all too fitting for a day of playoff suffering and heartache. Oh, and OJ's trial happened and it went on forever, and maybe someday someone will retell it in a way that takes almost as long as the case went in the first place. John Starks made some big plays throughout his career, but we'll remember him best for a quarter that he'd rather play back. So the next time you shoot your shot and miss, you've got 2 options. Pull a Starks and keep shooting till you can't see through your own tears, or go with OJ, find a car, and just get the f*** out of Dodge. Now look, I know Game 7 for the Rockets, that was really bad too, but that was a team effort. Starks was shitty all on his own. So congrats, John. Still the worst. Subscribe to SB Nation, comment down below, and come back next Friday for another episode of The Worst.